Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Love of Business with PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. My name is Maria Miko Faith, and it is my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Carl. How do I pronounce your name?
How do I pronounce it? What's
How
the right way?
your name?
I say Dimailig.
Dimailig? Okay,
Yes. It's
I
not the
should
right
ask
way,
him
but
that.
that's what I say.
Well, it's your name. I think you get to decide.
Yeah.
So Carl, tell us about what your business is. What's the name of it, and what do you do?
So it's called Guardian Angel Advisors. Advisors with an E, not an O, because it's not specifically finance related. When you think of financial advice, when you think of advisor, it's usually someone with a Series 6 license or does a whole bunch of, stocks, things like
Got
that.
it. Got it.
And the name is intentionally vague
Okay.
because what is a guardian angel? Sort of someone that sort of swoops in, whether or not you asked, maybe you didn't ask, and just kind of helps you get along your way. And my adult life has been very eclectic. I mean, you couldn't say that I spent 20 years in any one thing.
Oh my goodness, I relate so much.
So that's why I like the name. And it's really a bigger organization than that because it models my entire entrepreneurial journey
Mhm.
where usually you people have a career based on whatever they majored in college, and mine really sprung out of the fact that I got student loans. Didn't have anything to do with what I learned in college. And as my life moved on, changed, pivoted, and kept going, that's when I realized, the name Guardian Angel Advisors really fits because, and it's funny, a couple days ago, someone I met 5 years ago who's in the same place I was 15 years ago is asking my advice on what they should do. And it was like, man, if I had me back then when you were where you're at and I talk to me now, wow, I could learn from my own mistakes ahead of time. But that's just how
Wow.
life is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's a very broad, it almost sounds completely unrelated. But I'll say, in terms of an entrepreneur's journey, the earliest service I suppose I could say I help with is student loans, helping you minimize payments so you can put money back into your business as your business grows, or even as you start your business, how to build and fully utilize your business credit, your EIN, and not your personal credit, racking up debt, um,
Mhm.
trying to grow your business. And then finally, being a philanthropist when you create a private family foundation. So now you can give back, but also it'll also help market your business, believe it or not, through cause marketing concepts. All the big companies are doing
Mm.
it. So I figured, well, you know what? This is not really much talked about, private foundations, and it's something everyday families can do.
Wow, I love it. When I was a little girl, I remember thinking, all of different things I wanted to be when I was grown up, and one of the things I thought of was, oh, it'd be so nice to give money to people. So I'd love to be a philanthropist. I didn't realize, well, you got to make all that money, but like, I was like, that would be so nice.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's money and or time.
Hmm.
And when people retire, typically, they still have their steady stream of income. And if they've been donating, for a while, now they can donate time on top of that.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
So it's, yeah, I like the root word of philanthropy. It's love of mankind, phil and anthrope. It's like, yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, you don't think of that usually when you say the word, but that's actually profound.
yeah. Sometimes I geek out when I look up a new word. I'm like, what's the Greek root? What's the Latin
Yeah,
root?
yeah, yeah, I do that too. That's cool. That's cool. So how does a day in your business or what's the flow like?
Well, the funny part is this year it's going to completely change.
Aha.
But and last year everyone's world was different. So I can go before I'll just say 2019. Um, Typically, what I would help people in is maximizing the student loan forgiveness programs because there's 1.5 trillion in student loans out there, and 45 million, 50 million borrowers. A lot of them are employees of companies or government or nonprofit, and a lot of fewer though are entrepreneurs. And the Department of Education created a program where Normally, when you pay off a loan, it's a standard amortization where it's here's the let's say you borrowed $250,000 of student loans.
Mhm.
They usually say, okay, 10 years is about 1% a month, so $2,500 a month. Now that's a mortgage, you know. So they created programs back in 1990. Well, they created it in 93, went into effect in 94, where they said, you know what, let's give these graduates a break. Let's allow them to make their monthly payment based on their adjusted gross income so they can at least meet their basic needs on an annual basis. And it got improved over time. And in 2007, they introduced probably the best one out there. It's called Public Service Loan Forgiveness. And that allows you to get your loans forgiven in 10 years instead of 20 to 25 years the other way, the other forgiveness route.
Wow.
Plus, what most people didn't realize for the longest time is when you get any debt forgiven, let's say, you borrowed $250,000, it gets forgiven. And that same year you made $100,000. Technically, you made 100,000 and you got forgiven 250,000, which counts as income. So now you're taxed on
Right.
350,000, which is why the public service loan forgiveness is so awesome because that's the only program. One, it's 10 years, and two, it's not taxed when it's forgiven. And I spent years trying to
Mm.
figure out how, as an entrepreneur, could I also qualify for this public service loan forgiveness because it's a great program. The intention was that people go work for government 501c3s because typically they have lower salaries with nice benefits. So the trade-off was okay. Hey, let's incentivize people. That's what also income tax is. They incentivize certain behaviors. They
Mhm.
said let's create this program so we have more people working in government sectors and the tax exempt categories. And then that's when I learned. There's a lot between that, by the way. That's when I learned about private foundations.
Ah.
It falls under the 501c3 tax exempt status. There's two categories: public charity, private foundation. And
Mhm.
you'll see public charities everywhere. They're the frontline workers for all the good stuff. They feed the homeless, they fundraise for cancers. What you don't see out in public are the private foundations, and they are in the background, essentially funding causes that matches with their founders' intention. And strangely enough, having a private foundation qualifies you for public service loan forgiveness and is also a
Wow.
booster for your business if you were to do cost marketing concepts on top of that.
Wow.
So it's I didn't yeah it's just strange seeing how I got here. I would have been seeing it 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's not something that you could have foreseen when you were younger and been like, "Oh, this is what I'm gonna do when I grow up."
Yeah, it's usually the question you get asked is, what are you going to study in college? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Mhm.
And it's an unfair question to ask someone that isn't even an adult yet. But I think what would be a nicer question is, what do you want to give back to the world, or what problems do you want to solve for mankind? Those would be
Mm.
nicer,
Mhm.
and because you can pivot. It's like, do I want to do health? Do I want to do science? Do I want to be an engineer? Versus locking
Right.
someone into a degree, student loans, and then a career for the rest of their life before they even turn 18. It's a little I don't want to call it unfair, but
Backwards?
it's backwards, I'd say. Yeah, because I don't think people really know what they want until they've left their hometown, away from all of the people who influence them, and discover what they truly want versus, well, I'm doing this because my friend likes it. He's like, do you really like
Mhm.
that music, or do you like it because your friend likes it? So I don't think people know what they want until they spend either time alone or just trying different circles of influence.
Yeah, I think, I agree with that. I've, like you, I've had a very eclectic, work experience, and, I completely agree that I would never have like, where I'm at now, I could have done it when I was younger, but I didn't think of it. Like, I was in a different direction, you know? And, I did, I actually don't have a college degree yet, but I took like 6 months to research going to law school or going, what did I wanna do? And I realized at the time that I just like, I didn't know and I didn't want to put a whole bunch of time and effort into something that I was not going to use, because I know myself. I know I have strong feelings about when I don't want to use something. And I was like, I need to be more clear on what I want to do before I put in that effort.
Fun fact: there are a couple states where you can become an attorney without having gone to law school. Nebraska is one of them, and I think they keep that there because Abraham Lincoln never went to law school because law school didn't exist here yet. But
Ah,
you have to shadow a licensed attorney for a couple of years, and there's
okay.
only a few states that allow that.
Right, right, right. Well, good to know in case
We'll
I ever
see
want to change.
if you want
Go
it bad
shadow
enough
an
and want to move.
attorney.
Yeah,
Yeah, right, right, right.
it's like, how bad do you want it? I don't feel like moving to Nebraska.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, who do you serve primarily at entrepreneurs or students or both?
I'd say the primary target market that I can serve best would be entrepreneurs that have a lot of student loans. And
Mm,
I'll just use dentists as an example. They have undergraduate and graduate student loans, and maybe they've even gone up beyond that and gone on to surgery or orthodontistry. I don't know if that's extra years, but imagine if from 18 you have all these student loans and now you're about to start a practice. Well, you need to buy all the equipment. You need to make sure you have enough income coming in to not only pay for your overhead and employees, but now to try and handle these student loans.
mm,
So where I come in
yeah.
is I do I don't want to call it tax strategy, but that's really what it looks like. In the student loan forgiveness programs, the monthly payment is based on your adjusted gross income. And there are a lot of legal creative ways we can lower your adjusted gross income while you still get to benefit from what you use to lower it,
Right.
like pre-tax contributions to certain things, and
Mm,
that will allow you to still get stuff from the money you weren't taxed on. While at the time when you really need it, keep your monthly payments low so you can keep funneling it back into your business. So that's one audience. Another audience would be people who don't like paying that much in income tax, but they love earning a lot of money. You know, so the higher people who are in the higher tax bracket are another one because there are strategies out there that we all know that there's two tax codes really, one for we call it the billionaires, and one for everyone else. The funny thing is, they're all in the same Internal Revenue Code, which means they're available to everyone if you know how to access them. So it's really there's the Internal Revenue Code, and there are people who are informed about it, and there are people who are not informed. And the people who are not informed are doing what everyone else does that searches Google for answers. So, so if someone is sitting there wondering, I wish I can do something else with this money before I have to pay the IRS. So if my tax bill is 100,000, which goes to the IRS, and you have no say what the IRS does with it, it'd be nice to say, you know what if I only gave 30,000 because I was able to give 70,000 to causes I care personally about. So that's where charitable contributions come in. And I made the numbers up on the spot. So if anyone wants to double check me and say, hey, that's not true. It was just the
Right.
idea of
Right.
donating first, which reduces your taxable liability. So at least you have a say in your tax dollars.
That's a great strategy.
And you actually, if you were to pay attention, which most people don't really do, um, if you looked at colleges, hospitals, you'll see that hospitals have wings named after certain families.
Yeah.
Colleges have dorms and buildings named after families. That was a charitable donation. So they got to benefit tax wise because of that.
Right.
And they also said, by the way, put my name on that. And I want you to teach industrial design at this school. My name is Andrew Mellon, by the way. So let's create Carnegie Mellon University. And so that's how they got a major tax write off, the Mellons and
Nice.
Carnegie.
Well,
So
that's really good to know.
it's a different world because you don't see TV commercials about it.
Mhm.
And I was just really fortunate to have had someone share that world of the tax code with me. And here I am just sharing it with other people who are ready for it.
That's really awesome. So, um, how do you market? Since there's not really, you said
I
no
don't.
TV. You don't market?
I don't market. It's it really comes down to, and this is really weird to say it, people who have to know someone who knows me. So I just don't like the idea of well, okay, paid marketing. I don't do. I'll say that,
Okay.
but I will do podcasts, videos, webinars. I'll do things like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't do flyers. I don't um, pay for any ads. I do, although I will do one mailer, and it's only because I want to invite people to a podcast and also share their story because it's going to be targeted to private foundations that already exist. I want to
Oh,
get their story out. It's like, well, what is your purpose? How did you even come up with a private foundation? And then maybe if they need a tax professional, that maybe I can do that for them too. So
nice.
it's purposeful marketing. It's yeah,
Not just getting the exposure, but very, having a direct goal and outcome.
right, yeah, and I don't mind not marketing, spending all the dollars because I just don't.
That's interesting though, because everybody's about the marketing these days, and but I know there's a space for that word of mouth referral.
Yeah, and especially when, like I said earlier, there's informed taxpayers and uninformed taxpayers.
Hmm.
It would really fall on deaf ears because most people would say, "Well, I can't do this. I need $1 billion." It's like, no,
Right.
no, you don't. But if someone sees it and just they hear about it, and if they overhear it and they're curious, they're like, well, could I do that too? Yeah, absolutely. The tax code's there for everyone. Just know someone who can help you get through it,
Hmm.
and there you go. And then they'll share it with someone else they know, and that's really how it spreads.
It's such a powerful strategy that I'm interested too, because I had cancer, and then I'm like restarting everything, and I'm just re-examining my vision, and I had limiting beliefs for a while, and so, but I'm coming back to where, to my original vision, which was to give back to the world, and you know help people to find their power where I found mine.
So I'll give you an
uh
example of
mhm,
not being a billionaire. I mean, not that many people are.
mhm,
Let's say we had 25 families making, whatever. Let's say $50,000 a year. They're contributing to their family foundation, getting the write
mhm.
off, and these 25 families got together and said, you know what, we can create our own school. We get to dictate what is taught. We can rotate as instructors because each of us are experts at different things. We do not need government money because we funded it ourselves and got the write off. So you can create a school for music, philosophy, anything you want. You just get enough
Hmm.
people with a foundation, and you basically handle your community on your own, which is what I really, it's one of my goals for getting private foundations out here, especially locally, because we can all collaborate, maybe even start your own private hospital for cancer treatments and things like that.
Wow, that is so powerful. I feel that this year is going to be a lot of reorganization of communities.
Yeah.
Just with people like re-examining their values, and what's happening in mainstream society, and I feel there's going to be a lot of smaller communities springing up, and this is such powerful information.
The first thing I see happening are schools because there's a lot of parents fed up with what's being forced on their kids.
Hmm.
Um, I forget what it's called, but they're not teaching math, science, English. They're teaching other stuff that parents are really upset about.
Hmm.
And also this has been a concern for mine for a while. Nobody knows how to grow their own food. If I were to walk out into a field and someone says, "Find me a carrot," I don't know what that looks like until it's dug up. You know, I
Wow.
don't know what the sprouts look
Yeah,
like.
true, so true.
So I imagine there might be a local community, a collective of people who just grow their own food
Mhm.
in an area, and it's funded by their own non-taxed money because it's in their own family foundations funding the whole thing. So now their community is well fed. Instead of these food deserts that don't have a grocery store 25 miles, they only have the mini mart with Hostess products. You know,
Mhm.
so that's, I do see communities getting bigger and government. I would like to see communities getting bigger and government getting smaller, or at least the dependency on it.
Right, right, right. Definitely. Definitely. This is where we can take back the power.
Yeah, it's this is the weirdest time in in my life anyway of living in this country. It's like I can't believe that happened. I can't believe there was a time when we would use toilet paper to decorate the houses of our enemies, and now there's a shortage of it. It's like what?
Yes, yes. Decorate the houses of our enemies. That's so funny.
Yeah,
Um,
just people are fighting over the strangest things now.
I think sometimes people don't know what to do, but we all do have a strong need to be a part of a community. And so I think that's where, we'll start finding our way.
Yeah, I would love to grow my own beehive because I love the
Ah.
I love just drawing out the honeycomb, and it also helps me compartmentalize it, like in terms of a bigger family. Okay, this cell, hive, whatever cell, these group of experts, and I talk about a family office as in a bunch of experts that get together to help your family grow its assets, your well-being, handle everything the family wants,
Mhm.
and how we have everyone here, but they're integrated, but also specialized, so that way your family's taken care of, their well-being, they're growing into the person they want to be. They're learning art, music, culture on top of science and all the skills that make you a great employee.
Mhm.
They also learn the creativity and freedom of expression that comes through art. That yes, there's some basic rules to art, but you get to be you. You don't regurgitate the way you do with math. Then that's
True.
obviously math is necessary, but you
Mhm.
get to have a much more enriching life when you get to have you know communities getting together versus this is my nuclear family and that's all that matters. It's
Right, right. Because we do need each other. I think the isolation has not served us.
yeah, I am worried about the next generation of kids that had to grow up with this. The first several years of just being a child growing up in schools with or even just places with a lot of other kids and you just walk up, hi, I'm Bobby, oh, I'm Cindy, oh, I think that's missing now because they couldn't do that.
Right.
And they're resorting to, I guess, Zoom or virtual stuff. But
Mhm.
well, they'll overcome and they'll just have their own way in the future because I'm sure technology is going to just make things better and also trade off make some other things worse.
Right, right. There's always the adjustments that we have to make,
Yeah,
that constant course correction. Well, it's been awesome hearing from you and getting some knowledge on what's possible. Where
here
can people find you? I know you don't market, but do you have an online presence or phone
I have a
number?
very little online presence. My podcast. I have a podcast. It's called the Generational Entrepreneur Podcast. The theme is we talk about advice that could have or should have been handed down through generations. So we don't talk about tech stuff on how to get top SEO rankings. And we also talk about philanthropy there because charity has always been around. It's been around before government and will always be around
Mm,
because when things get really bad, people will help people just out of human solidarity. My
mhm.
actual website is guardianangeladvisors.com, advisors with an E, and it's being updated now that I'm a tax professional. I'm going to add a section on how you can become exempt from capital gains tax on your real estate stocks and crypto using private foundations. So
Ah,
this will help a lot of people that have a lot of crypto and don't want to cash out
yeah.
on it yet.
Right, right, right. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us
Oh, you're welcome.
today.
Thank you for having me.
Um, Thank you, everyone, also for watching. And do stay tuned for more shows from PR Connections Radio, the voice of new media.